Welcome back. I am Autumn Brookman, and we are in a video series about current and historical events that inspired the writing of 2034, A Cautionary Tale. Today, we are looking at the topic of drug abuse. To start our conversation, we will look at a poster that was published by the New York City Health Department in the subway system. It reads, "Don't be ashamed you are using, be empowered that you are using safely." There are many aspects of this poster that we could discuss. We will begin with the word empowered. To empower someone means you're giving them power to do something. And what exactly is it that drug use empowers people to be able to do? Well, for the New York City Health Department to be able to publish such a poster and for it to be accepted and tolerated in the subway system, people must be blind to the effects of drugs. In fact, in history, we have seen that civilizations have been blind to the evil and terrible things going on around them. This is why I have this book here, Amazing Grace by Eric Metaxas. He talks about William Wilberforce, an important and influential figure who ended the slave trade in Britain. But this took a long time. And in the book, he also discusses the cultural context in which it happened. At one point, he states, "In fact, the answer to how Britain could have allowed something as brutal as West Indian slavery to exist, and for so long, has much to do with its invisibility." So we see that something as horrifying as trading human beings and shipping them around the world in horrific and awful conditions was tolerated by a civilization because they didn't really know what was happening. They didn't see it with their own eyes. They didn't hear it with their own ears. And because they didn't know, they tolerated it. And so we see this happening with drug culture. People don't understand what's happening when someone's using drugs. And so they're okay with propaganda being displayed that says people are empowered when they use drugs safely, if there is such a thing as safely using drugs. In my own life experience, I've felt the effects of drug abuse. I have a family member who died of drug abuse, and I saw the pain that the use throughout his life and that the final result caused to his family, who wanted more than anything to see him make better choices with his life. I know there are many others who have felt this effect of children, siblings, parents, who have died because they chose to use drugs. But uniquely, I have also gained family members because of drug abuse. My husband and I are foster and adoptive parents, and it is estimated that 4 out of 10 children in foster care are there because of the effects of substance abuse. What this looks like is children who are left to fend for themselves, because the people in their lives who are supposed to care for them are suffering the effects of drugs and are unable to feed them, unable to take them out of car seats, unable to engage with them and have conversation with them. These children are neglected and often left to take care of themselves at very young ages, to the point that the government intervenes and removes them from that place and sends them somewhere else. This is suffering that's done to these children because of the use of drugs. And it is because of these experiences and because of this mindset that I can say there is nothing empowering about drug use. Drug use is devastating and destructive. There is no place for drug abuse in a healthy society. Another way to look at this issue is to look at how people feel about laws and the consequences that come with drug use. We live in a time period where people don't like the word shame. And we see at the beginning of this poster, "Don't be ashamed, you are using." People don't want to hurt someone's feelings, to tell them they're doing something wrong, to give them consequences for their actions. They think they're being merciful and kind and compassionate by not telling someone that what they're doing is destructive. But nothing could be further from the truth. And we see this happening in communities throughout our nation and throughout the world. There are places that will stop penalizing what they call petty crimes or small crimes. what happens is they cultivate a culture of crime. By not enforcing consequences for crime, they tell the members of their community that criminal conduct is okay. There's nothing wrong with it because they're not enforcing any consequences for it. So crime grows, not just the small crimes, but larger and larger crimes, until people are unsafe. If we would do the opposite, where we would enforce consequences for all crimes, including small crimes, we create a culture that says crime is not tolerated, and we expect everyone in our communities to treat others with respect. This creates communities that are safe. Below this video, I'll post another quote from Amazing Grace, which explains this theory a bit further. I have experience in the classroom, and I have seen a great variety of classrooms depending on the classroom management of the teacher. And I'm sure most of you can imagine the same based on your school experiences. You can picture the teacher that you knew was strict, the teacher that would enforce every single rule, the teacher that would get you in trouble if you whispered or you chewed gum in class. In this classroom, students were very unlikely to engage in risky behavior. Students were very unlikely to be bullied or feel unsafe, because in this classroom, anything that deviated from what the teacher wanted was not tolerated. However, if you go to a different classroom where a teacher was incredibly relaxed to the point that students were very often not doing any learning, but were just sitting and socializing throughout class, in this context, students will often try to engage in unsafe or unhealthy behavior. Students may be engaging in bullying, maybe bringing substances into the classroom that shouldn't be there, or other things that the teacher certainly wouldn't want, but because they are so relaxed on the rules, they have lost control. The same thing is happening in many communities, where people have lost control, where people feel unsafe, because there are no consequences. The compassionate response to someone who is breaking drug laws is not to allow them to do so. It's not to say that there should be no consequences for their actions. The compassionate response is to give consequences, and it is to say that this behavior is wrong. It is not compassionate to allow someone to destroy their own life and to destroy the life of their families. Like I said earlier, there is no place for drug abuse in a healthy society. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. I would love to hear your thoughts and your experiences. Has anyone in your family been affected by drug use? Have you seen propaganda put out that makes it seem that drug abuse is okay? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to join us for our next conversation as we continue discussing the events that inspired the writing of 2034, A Cautionary Tale. Thank you.